Hey there, and welcome to Crazy Pepper, the channel where drama sizzles and revenge burns hotter than ever. If you love jaw dropping twists, bold characters, and stories that keep you guessing till the end, you're in the right place. Subscribe and dive into gripping tales of betrayal, karma, and ultimate payback. Get ready for unforgettable moments and satisfying endings, only on Crazy Pepper. Hit that bell and let the drama begin. I arrived at our anniversary dinner with a stranger. My wife joked, "Introducing your mistress?" Everyone laughed, except her male friend. The room went silent when I said, "Sure, meet your lover's wife." That's how 17 years of marriage died at Romano's Bistro on a Tuesday night in October. My name is Eddie Halston, and I used to think I was smart. Turns out, I was just the last to know. The bistro hummed with the usual suburban theater. Women comparing Botox results over overpriced wine. Men discussing golf handicaps like they mattered. Vanessa had chosen this place, of course. My wife never did anything without calculating the audience first. "Eddie, you remember Damien Vance?" she said, her smile bright enough to power the restaurant. "From the Fletcher Street Project. Damien Damo Vance. 43 years old, gym sculpted, and wearing a Rolex that cost more than my car. He flipped houses like pancakes and had the ego to match. His handshake lasted 3 seconds too long, his grin too wide. The famous home inspector," Damo said. "Vanessa talks about you all the time." "Funny," I replied, cutting into my steak. "She never mentions you." Vanessa's laugh tinkled like broken glass. "Eddie's so modest. He found the structural issues that saved the Hendersons $50,000. Must be nice having such a thorough husband," Damo said, his eyes never leaving Vanessa's face. The subtext hit me like a sledgehammer. Thorough. Right. Thorough enough to miss my wife screwing her business partner for God knows how long. My phone buzzed. Text from Sophie, our 16-year-old daughter. "Mom's acting weird. Why is that gym guy here on your anniversary?" Smart kid, smarter than her old man, apparently. "Excuse me," Vanessa said, standing. "Ladies' room." Damo checked his phone, frowned. "Actually, I should make a call. Business never sleeps, right, Eddie?" They left within 30 seconds of each other. I sat there watching the dinner theater around me, feeling like the only sober person at a drunk driving convention. Through the window, I spotted them by Damo's Mustang. Vanessa was animated, gesturing wildly. Damo grabbed her arm, pulled her close. Not romantic close, angry close. I snapped a photo with my phone. Evidence or stupidity, I wasn't sure which. When they returned, the temperature had dropped 20 degrees. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Perfect," Vanessa said. "Just discussing the Morrison listing. At 9 p.m. on our anniversary? Real estate doesn't keep bankers' hours, honey." Damo flagged the waitress. "Check, please. Early morning tomorrow." As we stood to leave, I noticed Damo's wedding ring was missing. Vanessa's was still there, sparkling like a lie detector test. In the parking lot, Damo shook my hand again. "Great meeting you, Eddie. We should grab beers sometime." "Sure," I said. "I'll bring my wife. You bring yours." His smile faltered for just a moment. "Jules is usually busy. Book club, you know." "I know Jules Vance," I said. "We went to high school together. Sweet girl. Deserves better than book club on Tuesday nights." Damo's jaw tightened. Vanessa suddenly found her car keys fascinating. "See you around, Damo," I said, emphasizing his ridiculous nickname. Driving home in separate cars, when had that started? I replayed the evening. The touches, the looks, the synchronized bathroom break, the missing wedding ring, 17 years of marriage, and I'd been demoted to dinner entertainment. My phone rang. Ollie McKenna, my oldest friend and former Boston PD detective. "How was the anniversary dinner?" he asked. "Educational," I said. "Question for you, Ollie. Hypothetically, if someone was cheating on their spouse, what would you look for?" Long pause. "Eddie, what's going on?" "Probably nothing, just curious. Credit card statements and phone records, changed routines, why?" "Research for a story I'm writing." "Since when do you write fiction?" "Since tonight." Wednesday morning, Vanessa was already gone when I woke up. Her coffee cup sat in the sink, lipstick stain on the rim like a bloody fingerprint. A note on the counter, "Early showing, back tonight, we need to talk. V, we need to talk." The four horsemen of the marriage apocalypse. I spent the day inspecting a colonial in Newton, finding termite damage and faulty wiring. Straightforward problems with straightforward solutions. Unlike my life. Sophie was doing homework when I got home, her dark hair falling across her face like Vanessa's used to before the salon treatment started. Dad, can I ask you something? Shoot, are you and Mom getting divorced? The question hit like a punch to the solar plexus. Why would you ask that? She's different, secretive, and last night was weird. Who brings their business partner to an anniversary dinner? Maybe she's just stressed about work. Sophie looked at me with the eyes too old for 16. Dad, I'm not stupid, and neither are you. So why are you acting like it? Before I could answer, Vanessa's BMW pulled into the driveway. Sophie gathered her books. I'm going to Jessica's to study, she said, kissing my cheek. Good luck. Vanessa entered like she was showing a house, all energy and artificial brightness. How was your day? She asked, pouring wine without offering me any. Productive. Found some interesting structural damage. Amazing what people hide behind fresh paint. She missed the metaphor entirely. That's nice, honey. Listen, I've been thinking about us, our relationship. Here it comes, I thought. The speech she'd probably rehearsed in the car. We've been together since college, she continued. Maybe we've gotten too comfortable, too predictable. Predictable how? I think we should consider exploring new possibilities, opening ourselves up to new experiences. I set down my beer. Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? Lots of couples our age are trying open relationships. It's very modern, very healthy. Healthy. We could set boundaries, of course, rules, nothing that threatens what we have. And what exactly do we have, Vanessa? She blinked, clearly not expecting the question. A partnership, a family, a life together. A partnership where one partner gets to screw around while the other partner pretends it's healthy. Don't be crude, Eddie. I'm talking about growth, evolution. I'm talking about infidelity, which last I checked was still against the law in Massachusetts. Nobody follows those old laws anymore. Jules Vance might disagree. Vanessa's wine glass froze halfway to her lips. What's that supposed to mean? Just thinking about traditional marriage vows. You remember those, right? Forsaking all others? You're being ridiculous. Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like you want permission to do something you're already doing. She stood up, smoothing her skirt. I'm trying to save our marriage, Eddie. I'm trying to be honest about our needs. Your needs. Fine, my needs. I'm 40 years old, and I refuse to spend the rest of my life in suburban purgatory, pretending everything's perfect. So instead, you'll spend it in hotel rooms with married contractors. The slap came fast, cracking across my cheek like a whip. We stared at each other, breathing hard. How dare you, she whispered. How dare I what? Notice, care, fight for my marriage while you're busy destroying it. She grabbed her purse. I'm staying at Nora's tonight. Maybe you'll be more reasonable tomorrow. After she left, I sat in our kitchen, touching my stinging cheek. 17 years. And it had come to this. My wife asking permission to cheat, then hitting me when I called her on it. I opened my laptop and started researching Damien Vance. Damo Vance had the kind of online presence that screamed insecurity. Facebook photos of him at the gym, shirtless selfies, motivational quotes about crushing it and living your best life. His business, Vance Properties, specialized in flipping distressed homes in working-class neighborhoods. The reviews were mixed. Happy customers praised his vision and energy. Unhappy ones complained about corners cut, promises broken, and bills unpaid. A pattern emerged. Damo was better at starting projects than finishing them. I dug deeper. Property records showed he'd bought and sold 43 houses in the past 5 years. Impressive volume, but the profit margins were thin. He was leveraged to his eyeballs, floating from deal to deal like a financial trapeze artist. His wife Jules had her own Facebook page, photos of their Beacon Hill townhouse, their vacations to Napa, their golden retriever named Gatsby. She worked as a pediatric nurse at Children's Hospital. Real job, real contribution to society. Unlike her husband, who made money by gentrifying neighborhoods and displacing families. Thursday morning, I drove past Damo's current project, a 3-story Victorian in Dorchester that he was converting into condos. The work looks sloppy even from the street. Vinyl siding over original clapboard, cheap windows, a dumpster overflowing with architectural details that should have been preserved. I parked and walked around the property, taking photos. As a licensed home inspector, I had every right to document potential code violations. And there were plenty. Electrical work done without permits. Structural modifications that looked questionable. A foundation that showed signs of water damage. If I were inspecting this for a buyer, I'd recommend running away. Can I help you? I turned to find a young guy in work clothes, tool belt around his waist. Just admiring the craftsmanship, I said. You guys do nice work. He snorted. You being sarcastic? Because this job's a nightmare. Vance changes his mind every week, cuts corners everywhere, and half our guys haven't been paid in a month. That's rough. I'm a home inspector, so I see a lot of different contractors' work. Then you know quality when you see it. This ain't it. Vance cares more about his Instagram posts than building codes. I handed him my business card. If you ever need someone to document problems for insurance or legal purposes, give me a call. He pocketed the card. Might take you up on that. Name's Carlos, by the way. Eddie. Good luck with the project. Luck's about all we got left. That afternoon, I parked outside Nora Brennan's house in Brookline. Nora was Vanessa's best friend since college, a real estate agent who specialized in high-end properties and high-end gossip. Her BMW was in the driveway next to Vanessa's. Through the living room window, I could see them on the couch, wine glasses in hand, deep in conversation. Vanessa was gesturing animatedly, while Nora nodded and made sympathetic faces. I called Vanessa's phone from my car, watched her check the caller ID and decline the call. Then she showed Nora the screen and they both laughed. 17 years of marriage, and my wife was laughing at my phone calls with her enabler friend. I drove home and found Sophie in the kitchen making a sandwich. Mom called, she said. She's staying at Aunt Nora's again tonight. Okay. Dad, what's really going on? I looked at my daughter, smart, perceptive, deserving better than the soap opera her parents were creating. Your mother and I are having some problems, I said. But whatever happens between us, it doesn't change how much we both love you. Are you getting divorced? I don't know, sweetheart. I honestly don't know. She hugged me and I realized she was almost as tall as Vanessa now. When had that happened? How much had I missed while sleepwalking through my marriage? For what it's worth, Sophie said, I think Mom's being stupid. Don't say that about your mother. Why not? It's true. You're a good dad and a good husband. And if she can't see that, it's her loss. That night, alone in our king-size bed, I stared at the ceiling and made a decision. I wasn't going to be the passive sufferer in this story. If Vanessa wanted a war, she'd get one. But it would be fought on my terms, with my rules. I just had to figure out what those were. Friday evening, Vanessa came home to pack for what she called a girls' weekend at Nora's family cottage on Lake Winnipesaukee. She moved through our bedroom like a tornado, stuffing clothes into an overnight bag with suspicious efficiency. Since when do you do girls' weekends? I asked from the doorway. Since I realized I need some space to think about our situation being your affair with Damo? She zipped the bag with violent force. There is no affair, Eddie. There's a friendship that you're too insecure to understand. Right. That's why he's going to be there. She froze. What? The cottage. Damo will be there, won't he? Along with whatever other friends are helping you justify this. You're being paranoid. Am I? Then you won't mind if I call Jules and ask what she's doing this weekend. Vanessa's face went pale. Don't you dare drag innocent people into your delusions. Innocent people, like Jules, who has no idea her husband is screwing my wife? I'm done with this conversation. She grabbed her bag and headed for the stairs. I followed her. What's the plan, Vanessa? Divorce me, marry Damo, live happily ever after in your real estate fantasy land? She spun around at the bottom of the stairs. The plan is to figure out if I want to stay married to a man who inspects houses for a living and has the imagination of a tax form. The words hit like physical blows. 20 years together, and this was how she saw me. A boring functionary whose only purpose was paying bills while she lived her exciting double life. You know what? I said. Have a great weekend, really. Enjoy yourself. She looked surprised by my sudden calm. I will. After she left, I called Ollie. I need a favor, I said. Remember that tracking device you use for cheating spouse cases? Eddie, what are you planning? Justice. Saturday morning, I followed Vanessa's BMW north on Route 93, staying 3 cars back. The GPS tracker Ollie had given me made it easy. A tiny magnetic device I'd attached to her car frame while she slept. The cottage was on a secluded cove, accessible only by a winding dirt road through pine trees. Perfect for privacy, perfect for secrets. I parked a quarter-mile away and hiked through the woods, carrying a backpack with cameras, binoculars, and what Ollie called surveillance essentials. Through the trees, I could see the cottage, a sprawling cedar structure with a wraparound deck overlooking the lake. Vanessa's BMW was there, along with Nora's and a silver Mustang I recognized. I set up in a cluster of boulders 50 yards from the house, with clear sightlines to the deck and main windows. Through binoculars, I could see Vanessa, Nora, and two other women I didn't recognize. They were drinking wine, laughing, playing the part of innocent friends on a weekend getaway. At 3 p.m., Damo emerged from the cottage wearing swim trunks and carrying a beer. He'd been inside the whole time. I started taking photos. Damo and Vanessa by the lake standing closer than friends. Damo's hand on her lower back as she adjusted her bikini. The kiss by the dock. Long, passionate, unmistakable. My marriage was officially over. The only question now is how much damage I could do on my way out. At sunset, the group moved inside. Through the living room windows, I could see them cooking dinner, drinking more wine, acting like sophisticated adults having a sophisticated weekend. I circled around to the back of the house, where sliding glass doors opened onto a smaller deck. The bedroom windows were dark, but I could hear voices from the main room. "Eddie's becoming a real problem," Vanessa was saying. "He's suspicious about everything." "So what if he is?" This was Nora. "What's he gonna do, divorce you? He doesn't have the balls." He mentioned calling Jules. "Jules is clueless," Damo said. "She thinks I'm at a contractors conference in Hartford. I've got receipts, hotel reservations, the whole story." "You're both overthinking this," said another woman's voice. "Men like Eddie don't fight back. They just suffer quietly and pay alimony." The casual cruelty of it hit me like a sledgehammer. They weren't just cheating, they were laughing at me, planning my humiliation like a business strategy. I pulled out my phone and started recording. "The question is timing," Vanessa continued. "Do I wait until Sophie graduates or just rip the Band-Aid off?" "Rip it off," Nora advised. "Drag it out and you'll lose leverage. Strike while he's still off balance. What about the house?" "Massachusetts is no fault," Damo said. "You'll get half of everything, plus alimony. Eddie's not exactly a high earner, but the house is worth $600,000. And then what? We go public with our relationship?" "After appropriate mourning periods," Damo said. 6 months, maybe a year. Let the dust settle. I'd heard enough. Time to settle some dust of my own. I walked around to the front of the cottage and knocked on the door, hard. The conversation inside stopped immediately. Footsteps approached the door. "Who is it?" Vanessa called. "Your husband." The door opened slowly. Vanessa stood there in a silk robe, wine glass in hand, looking like she'd seen a ghost. "Eddie, what are you doing here?" "Checking on my wife, making sure she's safe." I pushed past her into the living room, where Nora and her friends sat frozen like mannequins. "Ladies," I said, "lovely evening for infidelity, isn't it?" "Eddie, you need to leave," Vanessa said. "This is private property. Where's Damo? I don't know what you're talking about." "Damian Vance, your business partner, your lover, the man whose Mustang is parked outside." A toilet flushed upstairs, footsteps on the stairs. Damo appeared in the doorway, wearing jeans and a guilty expression. "Eddie," he said, "this isn't what it looks like." "Really?" "'Cause it looks like you're screwing my wife while your own wife thinks you're at a conference in Hartford." The room went dead silent. "How did you," Dao started, "know about Hartford? I've been listening to you plan my divorce for the past hour. Very enlightening." I held up my phone, especially the part about me not having the balls to fight back. Vanessa stepped forward. "Eddie, let's discuss this at home, like adults." "Adults? You mean like adult enough to have an affair? Adult enough to mock your husband with your friends? That kind of adult?" "You're making a scene," Nora said. "I'm just getting started." I opened my phone's video app and hit record, pointing the camera at Vanessa and Damo. "Say hello to the internet, folks. This is my wife Vanessa and her lover Damo, enjoying a romantic weekend while lying to their families." "Stop recording," Vanessa demanded. Why? Afraid people might see the real you? Damo stepped forward, his gym-built chest puffed out. Put the phone away, Eddie. Or what? You'll knock me up? Add attack to infidelity? I'm asking nicely, and I'm declining nicely. He lunged for the phone. I stepped aside, and his momentum carried him toward the sliding glass door. I gave him a helpful push, and he crashed through the screen door onto the deck. The screen tore with a satisfying rip. Damo stumbled, windmilling his arms, and fell backward into the lake with a tremendous splash. The women screamed. I kept recording. Damo surfaced, sputtering and cursing, his hair plastered to his skull like a wet poodle. Oops, I said. Sorry about that. Physics was never my strong suit. You psycho, he yelled from the water. I'll sue you for attack. With what evidence? I have video of you attacking me. All I did was defend myself. I turned the camera back to Vanessa, who stood frozen in her silk robe. Anything you'd like to say to your daughter, your clients, your professional licensing board? Eddie, please. Please what? Please keep quiet while you destroy our family. Please pretend I don't know you're a lying, cheating narcissist. Damo was swimming toward shore, his threats getting louder and less coherent. You know what the funny thing is? I said to the camera. I actually thought about the open marriage idea. Figured maybe we could work something out like mature adults. But mature adults don't sneak around. They don't lie. And they sure as hell don't mock their spouses with their affair partners. I stopped recording and pocketed the phone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, ladies. Don't worry about me. I'll see myself out. I walked to the door, then turned back. Oh, and Vanessa, when you get home, your things will be in the garage. Sophie and I will be staying in the house until the lawyers sort things out. You can't kick me out of my own house. Watch me. I left them there, Vanessa in her silk robe, Nora and her friends clutching their wine glasses, Damo dripping lake water on the deck like a defeated sea monster. The drive home was the best I'd felt in months. Sunday morning, I changed the locks. Ollie helped me move Vanessa's belongings to the garage. Clothes, jewelry, personal items, everything that marked her territory in our house. We worked methodically, like crime scene technicians, erasing 17 years of shared life one box at a time. You sure about this? Ollie asked, carrying an armload of designer shoes. She made her choice. Now she gets to live with it. Sophie watched from the kitchen window, eating cereal and looking like she was enjoying the show. At noon, Vanessa's BMW screeched into the driveway. She tried her key, found it useless, and started pounding on the front door. Eddie, open this door right now. I opened it, leaving the chain lock engaged. Good morning, dear. How was the drive back? Let me in. This is my house, too. Was your house. Now it's a crime scene. What crime? Infidelity. Still a felony in Massachusetts, punishable by up to 3 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. Her face went white. You can't be serious. Dead serious. I've got video evidence, witness statements, and a very detailed timeline. Want to test me? I'll call my lawyer. Already called mine. Your stuff's in the garage. I suggest you find somewhere else to stay while we work out the details. I closed the door and turned the deadbolt. Vanessa pounded for another 5 minutes, then gave up. Through the window, I watched her storm into the garage, grab a suitcase, and drive away in a cloud of burning rubber. Sophie appeared beside me, grinning. Dad, that was awesome. Language. Sorry, that was freaking awesome. My phone rang. Unknown number. Eddie? This is Jules Vance. My stomach dropped. Jules, hi. I think we need to talk. We met at a coffee shop in Harvard Square, neutral territory where neither of us would be recognized. Jules looked exactly like she had in high school, petite, blonde, pretty in a wholesome way that made Vanessa's artificial glamour seem cheap by comparison. I saw the video, she said without preamble. What video? Don't play dumb. It's all over Facebook. Vanessa's friends are calling it revenge adult movie, but I know better. She pulled out her phone and showed me the screen. My video from the lake house had been edited down to 30 seconds. Damo falling through the screen door, splashing into the lake, me making sarcastic comments. It had been shared 47 times in 12 hours. Who posted this? One of Nora's friends. Probably thought it would make you look bad, but it's having the opposite effect. People are calling Damo a homewrecker, and Vanessa a cheat. Jules, I'm sorry you had to find out this way. I've known for months. Her voice was calm, matter of fact. Damien's not as clever as he thinks. Late nights, mysterious phone calls, credit card charges for restaurants I've never been to. Why didn't you say anything? Because I was gathering evidence for my divorce attorney, and because I was waiting for the right moment to destroy him. She smiled, and for the first time I saw steel beneath the sweetness. I think that moment has arrived, she said. Over the next hour, Jules laid out a plan that was both brilliant and terrifying. She'd been documenting Damo's affair for months, building a case that would leave him financially and professionally ruined. Bank records showing money diverted from joint accounts. Photos of him with multiple women, not just Vanessa. Evidence of tax evasion and contractor fraud. The affair is just the appetizer, she said. The main course is everything else. What do you need from me? Access to his current construction projects. You're a home inspector. You can document code violations, safety issues, anything that would trigger investigations. That's a lot of risk for me. Eddie, they're planning to destroy you. I heard Vanessa on the phone with her lawyer yesterday, talking about claiming emotional misuse, hiding assets, making you look unstable. The words hit like ice water. She said that? Word for word. She wants to paint you as a controlling husband who snapped and became dangerous. The lake house video is just the beginning. I thought about Sophie, about losing my house, my reputation, my future, about Vanessa and Damo laughing at the stupid husband who didn't see it coming. What do you need me to do? Monday morning, I drove to Damo's construction site in Dorchester. Carlos, the contractor I'd met earlier, was standing by the dumpster, smoking a cigarette and looking disgusted. How's it going? I asked. Worse every day. Vance showed up this morning with a black eye and a bad attitude, screaming at everyone about deadlines and budgets. Black eye? Claims he fell off a deck. But between you and me, it looks like someone punched him. I hadn't hit Damo at the lake house, but apparently someone had, probably Jules. Mind if I take another look around? I'm thinking about bidding on some inspection work. Carlos shrugged. Knock yourself out. Just don't touch anything. Half this stuff's held together with prayer and duct tape. I spent 2 hours documenting violations. Electrical work that would fail any inspection. Plumbing that violated 3 different codes. Structural modifications done without permits. A foundation that was slowly settling, creating cracks that would only get worse. I photographed everything, took measurements, made detailed notes. By the time I finished, I had enough evidence to shut down the project and potentially cost Damo his contractor's license. That afternoon, I visited the building department and filed complaints under my professional credentials as a licensed home inspector. The bureaucrat behind the counter looked bored until I showed him the photos. Jesus, he muttered. This is a disaster waiting to happen. When can you schedule an inspection? I'll send someone out tomorrow. If this is as bad as it looks, we'll shut them down immediately. What about the contractor's license? That's up to the licensing board, but with this many violations, let's just say Mr. Vance is going to have some explaining to do. I left the building department feeling like I just lit a very long fuse. Tuesday morning, my phone rang at 6 a.m. Eddie, it's Carlos. You need to see this. I drove to the construction site to find it surrounded by official vehicles. Building inspectors, city officials, and what looked like a fire marshal were crawling over the property like ants on a sandwich. Damo stood in the middle of it all, red-faced and gesticulating wildly at a man with a clipboard. This is maltreatment, he was shouting. Someone's out to get me. The man with the clipboard, his badge said Building Commissioner, looked unimpressed. Mr. Vance, we have documented evidence of 17 code violations, including structural modifications that could result in catastrophic failure. This site is condemned until further notice. You can't do this. I have investors, deadlines. You should have thought about that before you cut corners. All work stops immediately. Any attempt to continue construction will result in criminal charges. I watched from across the street as Damo's crew packed up their tools. Carlos spotted me and walked over. Somebody really had it in for your boy Vance, he said. Anonymous tip, they said. Very detailed, very professional. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. You know what's funny? This morning, before the inspectors showed up, someone spray-painted Home Wrecker across his Mustang in bright red paint. I looked across the street. Sure enough, Damo's silver Mustang was decorated with large red letters that would require a complete paint job to remove. Any idea who might have done that? I asked. Nope, but whoever it was has good handwriting. That evening, Jules called with an update. Phase 1 is complete, she said. Damien's project is shut down, his investors are panicking, and his insurance company is asking uncomfortable questions about the code violations. What's Phase 2? Public humiliation. I've scheduled a meeting with his contractor licensing board for next week. I'll be presenting evidence of fraud, safety violations, and professional misconduct. Will that be enough to revoke his license? It'll be enough to destroy his reputation. In the construction business, reputation is everything. What about Vanessa? Leave her to me. I have some ideas. Wednesday morning brought a phone call from my lawyer. Eddie, we need to talk. Vanessa's attorney filed a restraining order request, claiming you're stalking and maltreating her. That's ridiculous. Maybe, but the lake house incident doesn't look good. And there's video evidence of you following her. I was documenting infidelity for divorce proceedings, which is legal, but the optics are bad. Can you come in this afternoon? We need to prepare a response. I spent 3 hours with my lawyer, going over every detail of the weekend. The tracking device, the surveillance, the confrontation. By the end, even I had to admit it sounded borderline stalkerish. The good news, my lawyer said, is that infidelity is still grounds for divorce in Massachusetts. The bad news is that Vanessa's playing the sufferer card, and it might work. So what's our strategy? Document everything. Stay away from her and Vance. Let them make the next mistake. What if they don't make a mistake? Then we better hope Jules Vance's plan works. That night, I sat in my empty house, drinking beer and wondering how my life had become a bad country song. Cheating wife, broken marriage, legal troubles, and a future that looked increasingly bleak. My phone buzzed. Text from Sophie, who was staying at her friend Jessica's house to avoid the drama. Saw Mom today. She looks terrible, but Karma's a witch. I smiled for the first time in days. At least somebody was on my side. Thursday evening, the Newton Real Estate Association held their monthly mixer at the Marriott. Vanessa would be there. She never missed a networking opportunity, along with most of the local real estate community. I wasn't invited, but I knew the hotel layout from previous inspections. The ballroom opened onto a service corridor that connected to the kitchen. Easy access, minimal security. At 7 p.m., I put on my best suit and walked into the hotel like I belonged there. The real estate crowd was exactly what I expected. Overdressed, over-perfumed, and over-eager to make connections that might lead to commissions. Vanessa held court near the bar, surrounded by admirers and hangers-on. She'd chosen a black cocktail dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary, and she was working the room like a politician at a fundraiser. I waited until she was alone, refreshing her drink before approaching. "Hello, Vanessa." She spun around, nearly spilling her wine. "Eddie, what are you doing here?" "Networking. Thought I might drum up some business." "You need to leave. There's a restraining order. Pending restraining order. And this is a public event. I have every right to be here." The bartender was watching us with interest. So were several nearby real estate agents. "Besides," I continued, "I thought your colleagues should meet the husband you've been telling everyone is abusive and unstable. Keep your voice down." "Why? Afraid people might learn the truth about your affair with Damo Vance?" The conversations around us stopped. In the real estate world, gossip traveled faster than market trends. "You're drunk," Vanessa said loudly, "and you're embarrassing yourself." "Actually, I'm stone sober, unlike last weekend at the lake house, when you and Damo were planning my financial destruction while I recorded every word." A small crowd was gathering now. Vanessa's face had gone pale beneath her makeup. "Eddie, please." "Please what? Please keep quiet while you commit infidelity? Please pretend I don't know about the Hartford conference that never happened? Please let you and your friends laugh about how I don't have the balls to fight back?" I pulled out my phone and opened the video from the lake house. Would anyone like to see what a real estate power couple looks like when they think nobody's watching? "Don't you dare," Vanessa hissed. "Why not? You weren't shy about it at the time." I hit play. The audio was crystal clear. Vanessa discussing divorce strategy, Damo talking about asset division, all of them mocking me as a weak husband who would roll over and pay alimony. The crowd pressed closer, smartphones appearing like magic. Within seconds, my video was being recorded by a dozen other phones. Vanessa lunged for my phone, but I stepped back. That's private, she screamed. Actually, it was recorded in a public space with multiple witnesses, perfectly legal. A man in an expensive suit pushed through the crowd. I recognized him as Tom Morrison, president of the Real Estate Association. What's going on here? Tom, Vanessa said, composing herself with visible effort. This is my husband. He's been maltreating me and my business associates. Business associates? I laughed. Is that what we're calling infidelity now? Morrison looked confused. I think we should take this somewhere private. No need, I said. I've said what I came to say. Vanessa, enjoy explaining this to your clients, and your licensing board, and your daughter. I walked away, leaving her standing in the circle of shocked real estate agents. Behind me, I could hear the buzz of excited conversations and the click of phone cameras. By the time I reached my car, the video was already appearing on Facebook. Friday morning brought a call from Jules. Did you see the news? She asked. What news? Channel 5 picked up your real estate mixer story. It's on their website under local news. I pulled up the website on my laptop. There it was, real estate affair exposed at industry event. The story was brief but devastating, complete with quotes from witnesses and a heavily edited version of my lake house video. How did the media get this? Someone at the mixer called it in. Probably thought it was funny until they realized it was news. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Halston, this is Rebecca Martinez from Channel 5. I'd like to ask you some questions about the incident at the real estate mixer. No comment. Is it true that you've been stalking your wife and her alleged lover? I said no comment. I hung up and immediately called my lawyer. Eddie, what the hell did you do? I told the truth. In front of 50 witnesses and a room full of smartphones? Are you insane? Probably. What's the damage? Vanessa's attorney is screaming about maltreatment, public humiliation, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. They want a restraining order, full custody of Sophie, and enough alimony to buy a small country. Can they get it? After last night, maybe. You've given them ammunition, Eddie. A lot of ammunition. What about the infidelity evidence? Infidelity is grounds for divorce, but it doesn't excuse stalking and public humiliation. You need to lay low until this blows over. What if I don't want to lay low? Then you better have a very good lawyer and a very good plan. I hung up and called Ollie. I need help, I said. What kind of help? The kind that ends this war before it destroys me completely. Eddie, you're scaring me. Good, because I'm scared too. But I'm also done being the sufferer in this story. That afternoon, Jules and I met at a diner in Medford, far from our usual neighborhoods. The licensing board hearing is Monday, she said. I'll be presenting evidence that will end Damien's career. What about the media attention? Double-edged sword. It's embarrassing for all of us, but it also puts pressure on the authorities to take action. Vanessa's lawyers threatening to destroy me in court. Let them try. I have something that might change their minds. She slid a manila envelope across the table. Bank records, she said. Damien's been moving money into offshore accounts for 6 months. He's planning to hide assets before the divorce. How did you get these? I'm still his wife. Joint accounts, remember? I opened the envelope. The records showed systematic transfers to banks in the Cayman Islands, totaling nearly $200,000. This is fraud. Among other things, tax evasion, money laundering, probably a few other felonies I haven't figured out yet. What do you want me to do with this? Nothing yet, but if Vanessa's lawyer wants to play hardball, we have some very hard balls to play with. Jules, why are you doing this? Helping me, I mean. She was quiet for a long moment, stirring her coffee. Because they humiliated us both. Because they think we're weak and stupid and beneath them. And because I want to watch them burn. The steel in her voice was unmistakable. Sweet, wholesome Jules Vance was done being nice. What's the end game? I asked. Total destruction. Damien loses his license, his business, his reputation, and half his hidden assets. Vanessa loses her clients, her credibility, and her meal ticket. What about us? We get our lives back, and our dignity. I looked at the bank records again, numbers on a page that could destroy 2 lives and save 2 others. When do we pull the trigger? Soon, Jules said. Very soon. Monday morning, I woke up to find my driveway blocked by a news van. Channel 5 had decided the real estate affair was worth a follow-up story. I called in sick to work and spent the day hiding in my house while reporters knocked on my door and neighbors gawked from their windows. By evening, the media circus had moved on to other stories, but the damage was done. I was now the vengeful husband in a local scandal that was spiraling out of control. Tuesday brought worse news. Vanessa's restraining order had been approved. I was legally prohibited from coming within 100 yards of her, her workplace, or any property she owned or managed. It's temporary, my lawyer assured me, but it gives her a tactical advantage in the divorce proceedings. How long is temporary? 2 weeks minimum, possibly longer if she can prove ongoing maltreatment. What about Sophie? Supervised visitation only. Vanessa has temporary custody. The words hit like a physical blow. My daughter, my house, my marriage, everything was slipping away while Vanessa played the sufferer card to perfection. That afternoon, Jules called with an update from Damo's licensing board hearing. It was a massacre, she said. 3 hours of evidence, testimony from contractors he'd stiffed, photos of code violations, documentation of safety issues. The board voted unanimously to suspend his license pending a full investigation. How did he take it? About as well as you'd expect. Screaming, threats, claims of conspiracy. Security had to escort him out. What's next? Criminal charges, probably. The district attorney's office was at the hearing, taking notes. And Vanessa? Radio silence. She hasn't returned my calls or Damien's. Smart Money says she's cutting ties before the ship sinks completely. That evening, I sat in my empty house, drinking beer and wondering how to salvage what was left of my life. The restraining order meant I couldn't confront Vanessa directly. The media attention meant any public action would be scrutinized and probably used against me. I needed a different approach, something unexpected, legal, and devastating. My phone buzzed. Text from Sophie. Dad, can you pick me up from school tomorrow? Mom's busy with her lawyer. I texted back. Sorry, sweetheart, restraining order means I can't be near your school. That's stupid. You're not dangerous. Tell that to the judge. Maybe I will. An hour later, Sophie called. Dad, I want to live with you. Honey, the court gave custody to your mother temporarily, and only because she lied about you being dangerous. But I'm 16. I can choose where I want to live. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. I talked to Jessica's mom. She's a lawyer. She says I can petition the court to change custody if I have good reasons. What reasons? Mom's never home. She's either with her lawyer or her friends or hiding from reporters. I've been staying at Jessica's house for 3 days because Mom doesn't want me around during the legal proceedings. The words gave me hope for the first time in weeks. Are you sure about this, Sophie? It could get ugly. Dad, it's already ugly. Mom's trying to destroy you, and I'm not going to let that happen. Wednesday morning, I met with a family law attorney recommended by Ollie. Margaret Chen was tough, smart, and unimpressed by Vanessa's sufferer narrative. Your daughter wants to testify on your behalf? She asked. She says she wants to live with me. That could be powerful. Judges take teenage preferences seriously, especially when there's evidence of parental alienation. What's parental alienation? When one parent tries to turn a child against the other parent, lying about misuse, restricting contact, making the child choose sides, it's considered a form of emotional misuse. Can we prove that? If your daughter is willing to testify about her mother's behavior, yes. And if we can show that the restraining order was obtained through false statements, that's even better. What do we need? Documentation, phone records, text messages, witness statements, anything that shows your ex-wife has been manipulating the situation for her own benefit. I spent the rest of the day gathering evidence. Screenshots of Sophie's texts about staying at friends' houses. Voice messages from Vanessa talking about legal strategy and managing the narrative. Bank records showing her spending on lawyers while neglecting household expenses. By evening, I had a file that painted Vanessa as a calculating manipulator who was using our daughter as a pawn in her divorce strategy. Thursday morning brought a surprise visitor. Jules stood on my doorstep looking like she hadn't slept in days. We need to talk, she said. What's wrong? Damien's gone. Gone where? Disappeared, cleaned out his remaining bank accounts, packed a suitcase, and vanished. His lawyer says he's taking time to consider his options. But I think he's running. From what? The FBI showed up at our house yesterday. Something about money laundering and tax evasion. They had a warrant to search his office. The pieces clicked into place. Damo's offshore accounts, his shady business practices, and his sudden disappearance. He wasn't just a cheating husband, he was a criminal. What does this mean for Vanessa? Guilt by association, maybe. She was his business partner, after all. If the FBI can prove she knew about the money laundering, she could be charged too. It's possible. But first, they have to find Damien. Any idea where he might have gone? Jules smiled grimly. Actually, yes. He thinks he's clever, but he's predictable. There's a cabin in New Hampshire that he bought under his brother's name. Off the books, cash purchase, perfect hideout. You're going to turn him in? We're going to turn him in. Together. Jules, I can't get involved in this. The restraining order, the media attention. Eddie, this is our chance to end it. All of it. Damien in federal custody, Vanessa implicated in his crimes, both of them too busy with criminal lawyers to worry about divorce proceedings. She was right. If Damo was arrested on federal charges, it would overshadow everything else. The infidelity, the restraining order, the media circus, all of it would become secondary to a criminal investigation. What do you need me to do? Drive, watch, document. Let me handle the FBI. When? Now. Before he gets smart and runs somewhere we can't find him. I looked at my empty house, my uncertain future, my destroyed marriage. Then I looked at Jules, who was offering me a chance to fight back against the people who had tried to destroy us both. Let me get my coat. The cabin was 3 hours north of Boston, hidden in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Jules navigated while I drove, following back roads that wound through dense forest and past frozen lakes. How do you know about this place? I asked. Damien brought me here once, early in our marriage. Said it was his man cave, somewhere he could go to think and recharge. I thought it was romantic at the time. And now? Now I know it was where he brought his girlfriends. I found receipts for groceries, wine, lingerie, all charged to his business account as client entertainment. The cabin sat on a bluff overlooking a small lake, accessible only by a narrow dirt road. Damo's Mustang was parked outside, still bearing the faint outline of red spray paint that spelled Home Wrecker. He's here, Jules whispered. We parked a quarter-mile away and hiked through the trees. The cabin was dark except for a single light in what looked like the kitchen. Through binoculars, I could see Damo pacing back and forth, talking on his phone. Can you hear what he's saying? Jules asked. I crept closer, using the trees for cover. Damo's voice carried clearly in the cold air. Told you it's temporary, just until this blows over. Pause. The FBI doesn't have anything concrete, just suspicions and rumors. Pause. Of course I'm not going to prison. My lawyer says they need evidence, not just bank records. Pause. Vanessa, she's radioactive right now. Her husband made sure of that with his little publicity stunt. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Look, the money's safe. Cayman accounts, shell corporations, the whole 9 yards. Even if they freeze the domestic accounts, we've got enough offshore to start over. Pause. Mexico, maybe, or Costa Rica. Somewhere without extradition treaties. He was planning to flee the country, and he was admitting to money laundering on a recorded phone call. I crept back to Jules and showed her the recording. That's enough, she whispered. Let's call the FBI. But as we turned to leave, a branch snapped under my foot. The sound echoed through the forest like a fire shot. The light in the cabin went out. Run, Jules whispered. We crashed through the underbrush, branches tearing at our clothes. Behind us, I could hear Damo shouting into his phone. Someone's here, I think it's the cops. We reached the car as Damo's Mustang roared to life. His headlights swept the trees as he backed out of the driveway. He's running, Jules said. Good, let him run straight into the FBI. I called the number Jules had given me, a federal agent named Sarah Martinez, who was investigating Damo's financial crimes. Agent Martinez, this is Eddie Halston. I have information about Damien Vance's location. Where are you, Mr. Halston? I gave her the address of the cabin and described what we'd witnessed. We'll have units there in 30 minutes. Where's Mr. Vance now? Heading south on Route 16 in a silver Mustang. And Agent Martinez? I have a recording of him discussing money laundering and plans to flee to Mexico. Send it to me immediately. And Mr. Halston, stay where you are until our agents arrive. 20 minutes later, the forest lit up with flashing lights. FBI vehicles, New Hampshire State Police, even a helicopter circling overhead. They'd set up roadblocks on every route south. Damo never had a chance. Agent Martinez found us sitting in our car, still shaking from adrenaline. Mr. Vance is in custody, she said. Arrested at a roadblock 5 miles from here. He had a suitcase full of cash and a fake passport. What happens now? Jules asked. He'll be charged with money laundering, tax evasion, and attempted flight to avoid prosecution. With the evidence you've provided, he's looking at 10 to 15 years in federal prison. What about Vanessa? I asked. That depends on what Mr. Vance tells us about her involvement in his business dealings. But I suspect she's going to have some very uncomfortable conversations with federal prosecutors. Jules and I drove back to Boston in silence, processing what had just happened. Damo was in federal custody, facing serious prison time. Vanessa was about to be caught in the crossfire of a criminal investigation. The war was almost over. Friday morning brought news that Vanessa had been arrested at her office, charged with conspiracy to commit money laundering and tax evasion. The FBI had found evidence that she'd helped Damo move money through shell companies, using her real estate connections to facilitate transactions. The restraining order was immediately dismissed. Hard to claim someone is dangerous when you're in federal custody yourself. Sophie called me, crying with relief. Dad, can I come home now? Pack your bags, sweetheart. I'll pick you up in an hour. The media circus had shifted focus from my maltreatment of Vanessa to her arrest on federal charges. Suddenly, I was no longer the vengeful ex-husband. I was the sufferer of a criminal conspiracy. My lawyer called with an update on the divorce proceedings. It's over, Eddie. With Vanessa facing federal charges, her attorney has advised her to accept whatever terms you offer. She can't afford a protracted legal battle while fighting criminal charges. What are you recommending? Full custody of Sophie, the house, and minimal alimony. Vanessa's going to need every penny for her criminal defense. What about her real estate license? Suspended pending the outcome of her trial. Her career is effectively over. That afternoon, I met Jules at the same diner where we'd planned Damo's downfall. How are you holding up? I asked. Better than expected. The FBI says I'm not a target of their investigation. Apparently, being a sufferer of financial fraud makes you a witness, not a co-conspirator. What's next for you? Divorce, obviously. With Damien in federal custody, it should be straightforward. I get the house, he gets a prison cell. Any regrets? About destroying him? None whatsoever. He made his choices, and now he gets to live with the consequences. We sat in comfortable silence, two people who had been through hell and somehow made it out the other side. There's something I need to tell you, Jules said finally. What? The spray paint on his car. That was me. I laughed. I figured as much. Good penmanship, by the way. Catholic school, they were very strict about handwriting. What about the black eye he had after the lake house? Also me. Turns out all those years of nursing gave me excellent knowledge of where to hit someone for maximum impact and minimum permanent damage. I looked at this woman I'd known since high school. Sweet, quiet Jules, who had turned into a avenging angel when pushed too far. Remind me never to cross you, I said. Too late for that advice to help Damien. 6 months later, I stood in the courtroom as the judge finalized my divorce from Vanessa. She looked haggard, worn down by months of legal battles and media scrutiny. Her high-powered attorney had been replaced by a public defender, her designer clothes swapped for a simple dress that had seen better days. Mr. Halston, the judge said, you are awarded full custody of your minor daughter, sole ownership of the marital home, and all marital assets not currently frozen by federal authorities. Vanessa didn't even look up when the gavel fell. Outside the courthouse, Sophie hugged me tight. Is it really over, Dad? It's really over. What happens to Mom? She'll serve her time, probably 2 to 3 years if she cooperates with the prosecution. After that, she'll have to rebuild her life. Do you feel bad for her? I thought about the question. Did I feel bad for the woman who had cheated on me, mocked me, tried to destroy me? The woman who had used our daughter as a pawn in her legal strategy? I feel bad for the person she used to be, I said finally, but not for the person she became. Jules called that evening with news that Damo had been sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. He'd tried to cooperate with prosecutors, but his testimony had only implicated more people in his financial schemes. Justice, she said simply. What are you going to do now? I'm thinking about traveling. Europe maybe. See places that don't have bad memories attached. That sounds nice. What about you? Sophie and I are going to stay put for a while. She wants to finish high school here, and I need to rebuild my business. The media attention probably didn't hurt your reputation as a home inspector. Actually, it helped. Turns out people want someone thorough enough to catch criminals hiding in their construction projects. We talked for a few more minutes. Two survivors of a war that had nearly destroyed us both. When we hung up, I realized it might be the last time we spoke for a while. Our alliance had been born of necessity and revenge, not friendship. But I would always be grateful to Jules Vance for showing me that sometimes the only way to win is to fight back harder than your enemies expect. A year later, I was inspecting a house in Brookline when I spotted a familiar figure across the street. Vanessa, looking older and thinner, was putting a for sale sign in front of a modest apartment building. She was working for a small property management company now, handling rentals and minor sales. A far cry from her days as a high-powered real estate broker, but honest work. Our eyes met for a moment. She nodded slightly, a gesture that might have been acknowledgement or apology. I nodded back, then returned to my inspection. Some wars end with explosions. Others end with quiet nods across a suburban street. Two people who had once shared a life, now sharing nothing but a past, they'd both rather forget. That evening, Sophie and I had dinner at our kitchen table, the same table where Vanessa had once pitched her open marriage idea. Now it was just the two of us, planning Sophie's college applications and discussing her part-time job at the local animal shelter. "Dad," she said between bites of pasta, "I'm proud of you." "For what?" "For fighting back. For not letting them destroy you. I had help. From Jules? From you, sweetheart. You chose to stand by me when it would have been easier to stay neutral. That meant everything." She smiled, and I saw the strong, independent woman she was becoming. Whatever else had come from the wreckage of my marriage, I had gained a deeper relationship with my daughter. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "Saw you on the news again. Home inspector catches contractor fraud. Proud of you. Jay." Jules checking in from wherever her travels had taken her. I texted back. "Thanks, hope you're well. Living my best life," came the reply. Finally. I deleted the conversation and put my phone away. The past was the past. The future belonged to Sophie and me, and whatever we chose to build from the ashes of our old life. Outside, the first snow of winter was beginning to fall, covering the neighborhood in clean white silence. Inside, my daughter was laughing at something on her phone, the sound filling our house with life and hope. The war was over. We had won.